we have a returning guest, Stefan Padfield. Welcome to the show, Stefan. I'll explain who you are once I say hi to you.
Well, thanks so much for having me back. It's great to be here.
Well, you're talking about a very important issue today. So you're the executive director of the Free Enterprise Project, and that's with the Center for Public Policy Research. And I get some of the best guests from them. And if you go to nationalcenter.org, there at the bottom of your screen, I really encourage you to go there because the nationalcenter.org, the Public Policy Research Center, they're involved in so many cutting edge things. They're doing the work that we can't do. But we're like, wait, what's happening here? This is not right. And you guys are at the forefront. So before we jump into our topic, can you kind of explain what the Free Enterprise Project is?
Sure, and thank you very much for all those kind words. Certainly, the National Center has a number of projects, and the Free Enterprise Project is one of them, has been around basically since 2007. And what we do is we own shares in many of the largest companies that your viewers would be familiar with. And we basically try to get them back to neutral. We try to get them away from the politicized left leaning wokeness that we're seeing all through corporate America. And we do that a number of ways, but one of them is by filing shareholder proposals. So we submit the proposals. We often engage with the company. We show up at the meetings, and everything we do is basically geared towards getting the companies back to neutral. And certainly, first and foremost, because that is what is in the best interests of shareholders, and we firmly believe in free market capitalism and that the way that businesses contribute to social well-being is by maximizing value, creating great products and services, not by pushing a woke agenda. We certainly see go woke, go broke plenty of times. So that's what we're doing, and we spend a lot of time doing that. We also file lawsuits. We also, write op-eds and other think pieces, engage with coalitions. So there's a number of things we do in the particular space of trying to get corporate America back to neutral and back to the business of business.
Well, it's absolutely imperative that businesses and shareholders get involved and work this angle as well. So what has been happening? What is going on with Microsoft? What's the call for these European entanglements?
Sure. So we basically, when we get ready to file a proposal, one of the things we do is we look at what the company's currently involved in. And certainly we would love to find nothing and not have to file a proposal. But with Microsoft, what jumped out at us was that they had pretty recently, last few months, announced that they were creating this European security program, essentially giving away AI and other technology to the UK, to the EU, to other countries. And superficially, it sounds great, right? We want to protect against cybercrime. We want to protect against hacking. And so that was the facial, basically, explanation for what they're doing. But when we dug a little bit deeper, we started becoming concerned about the way that this technology could be abused for censorship, which is something that we see going on quite a bit and coming out of the EU. They seem to be quite proud of the way that they weaponize, hate speech codes and go after quote unquote misinformation. And so we were concerned about that. And as we dug a little deeper, we found that organizations that are listed explicitly by Microsoft as benefiting from this program are essentially involved in that sort of censorship, or at least appear to be. Now, we're still very much in the question asking phase, right? We would love for Microsoft to just make clear why there are no concerns. But so far, Microsoft has basically refused to engage with us. They've just gone right to the opposition statement. And we've seen that just in the past few days where they essentially ignore the concerns we raise, say there's nothing to see here. But we think there are still issues. And so I plan to put out an op-ed here in the next few weeks, specifically identifying those problems. We'll reach out to shareholders and hopefully we'll get some traction with the proposal. Although regardless of what happens with the proposal, certainly we want to win those proposals. We file every one of them with the expectation of winning, but we can be successful even when those proposals fail on the vote count, because a lot of those vote counts are controlled by the big five, which are the asset managers and the proxy advisors. And often they tend to go hand in glove with the managers in a left-leaning way. So the votes don't always come out the way we want, but we do believe we're on the right side of the issues 9 times out of 10. And so we can often have successes just by shining a light on what's going on and getting the problems exposed, even if the vote counts don't necessarily come out in our favor.
Yeah, it's great to be able to expose what's going on. Very, very important.
Yeah, because we don't know. Like, we're not in these meetings. We're not looking at what Microsoft is coming up with their new programming. And even if you did, it sounds, we know better by now. But when they're saying they're combating hate speech and harmful content, we know what they consider hate speech and harmful content. And you're in a good position, not just because of you buy up these shares and you become shareholders, but you have a lot of experience in law too, both as a law professor and with a private law firm. And so to know the ins and outs and be able to be one of the players here, because you're concerned. And when they don't answer your questions, that makes us even more concerned, right? Like, wait a minute, I'm concerned this can be used. Like, supposedly it's to keep people safe, but how much are they going to have a play in censorship of private citizens? Isn't that what it boils down to, our concern?
It's exactly right. And, the legal experience I have, I'm very grateful for. And I do think it's critical because a lot of times these companies will just hand wave responses out that use language that if you don't look closely at what they're saying, you don't notice where the potential problems lie. And again, we would love for there to be no problem, right? One of the red flags here is simply if there really is no problem, then why did not Microsoft come back to us, engage with us, explain to us why we're wrong? And we would potentially withdraw a proposal just on that basis alone. We're not perfect. Maybe we saw issues where there are none, but that didn't happen. So we never even had a chance to have that conversation with them. And I'll give you just a couple of issues, right? So I'm sure your viewers and you are likely familiar with the 1792 exchange. They do great work uncovering corporate bias, right? And so if you go to their website and you look up Microsoft, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned. I think their upper management has donated to the Democrats something like 5 or 6 to 1, if I remember correctly. I'd need to double check that. They're rated a high risk. If you go to Alliance Defending Freedom, there's concerns in their viewpoint diversity survey. So you start right there, not to mention that they were recently subpoenaed by Congress or one of the congressional committees looking into their role in censorship through foreign governance generally. So we've got some red flags. And then you add into that we specifically identified in our proposal a couple of the organizations that are particularly problematic in terms of having this censorship agenda. And they never even addressed that. In fact, they said in the opposition statement, we don't quite understand what the problem is, even though we specifically spelled out the problem. So there's a lot of hand waving. I think there's some overconfidence on the part of management that they can just brush us off without even talking to us, that they can just rely on the World Economic Forum buddies that they have who are all in on this censorship model, right? And so they know the asset managers, the proxy advisors are probably going to vote in their favor. And so we just have to keep up the good fight here, right? And keep exposing what's potentially problematic. And again, if it turns out that we're wrong, we will happily admit that and move on. We would love to not have anything to do, right? We would love for all these corporations to be neutral, to not be leaning so far left. But we just keep seeing problems with these issues. And this is another one where we think there are just too many questions, too many red flags, not to keep pushing.
We need you at the forefront, because I think we saw in just recent years, we didn't realize the left had infiltrated all of social media, all of media. And if it wasn't for Elon Musk buying Twitter and turning it into X, where would the free speech be on these social media platforms? So we really need somebody like you looking to see what's coming down the pike. When we come back, we're going to look at some examples of censorship in real time and the kind of things we're talking about. So don't go away.